Iyov 30. But now they laugh at me, those younger than I, whose fathers I would have refused to put with my sheepdogs. Of what use is it to me is the strength of their hand, since their manhood power has perished? They are dried up from the lack and hunger. They flee to a parched land, formerly a waste and a ruin. They pluck salt herbs by the bushes, and broom tree roots for their food. They were driven out from among men. They shouted at them as at a thief. To dwell in the gullies of wadis, holes of the grounds, and in the clefts. Among the bushes they cry out. Under the nettles they huddle together. Sons of fools, even sons without a name. They have been whipped out of the land. And now I have become their song, and I am a byword to them, and they have loathed me. They have kept far from me, and I did not refrain from spitting. They did not refrain from spitting in my face, because he has loosed my bowstring and afflicted me. They have thrown off restraint in my presence. At my right hand a brood rises. They pushed away my feet, and they raised up against me their destructive ways. They have broken up my paths. They gain by my ruin. No one restrains them. They come as though a wide breach rushing on me under the ruins. Destruction are turned upon me. They pursue my life as the wind, and my welfare has passed like a cloud. And now my life pours itself out. Days of affliction seize me. My bones have been pierced in me at night, and my gnawings never lie down. By great exertion is my garment changed. It girds me as a collar for my coat, throwing me into the mud, and I have become like dust and ashes. I cry out to you, but you do not answer me. I stand up, but you only look at me. You have become cruel to me. With the power of your hand you oppress me. You lift me up to the wind, making me to ride it, and you melt me in a storm. For I have known that you bring me to death and to the house of appointment for all living. Yet does not one in a heap of ruin stretch out his hands, or in calamity cry for help? Did I not weep for him who was in trouble? For was my being not grieved for the poor? When I looked for good, then evil came to me. And when I was waiting for light, darkness came. My inward parts boiled, and I did not rest. Days of affliction went before me, and I went about blackened. But not by the sun. I stood up in the assembly. I cried for help. I became a brother of jackals and a companion of ostriches. My skin has become black upon me, and my bones burned with heat. So my lyre becomes mourning, and my flute the sound of weeping. Iyov 31. I have made a covenant with my eyes. How then can I gaze at a maiden? For what is the portion of Eloah from above, and the inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is it not calamity to the perverse, and strangeness to the workers of wickedness? Does he not see my ways and number all my steps? If I have walked with falsehood, or if my foot has hurried to deceit, let him weigh me in a right scale, and let Eloah know my integrity. If my step does turn from the way, or my heart has gone after my eyes, or if my spot has clung to my hands, let me sow, and another eat, and let my harvest be rooted out. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, or if I have lurked at my neighbor's door, let my wife grind for another, and let others bow down over her. For what would be a wicked scheme and a punishable crookedness? For what would be a fire that burns to destruction and take root among all my increase? If I have refused the plea of my male servant, or my female servant, when they complained against me, when then what should I do when El rises up? And when he punishes, what should I answer him? Did not he who made me in the womb make me? And did not one fashion us in the womb? If I have withheld the poor from pleasure, or caused the widow's eyes to fail, or eaten my piece of bread by myself, and the fatherless did not eat of it, but from my youth he grew up with me as with a father, and from my mother's womb I guided her. If I have seen anyone perish for lack of garments, or a poor one without covering, if his loins have not blessed me, and he warmed himself with the fleece of my sheep, if I have raised my hand against the fatherless, when I saw I had help in the gate, let my arm fall from my shoulder, and my arm be broken from the bone. For I am in dread of destruction from El, and from his excellence I could not escape. If I have put my trust in gold, or called fine gold my refuge, if I have rejoiced because my wealth was great, and because my hand had gained so much, if I have looked at the sun when it shines, or the moon moving in brightness, so that my heart has been secretly enticed, and my mouth has kissed my hand, that too is a punishable crookedness, for I would have denied El above. If I have rejoiced when he who hated me is ruined, or lifted myself up when evil found him. Also, I have not allowed my mouth to sin by asking for a curse on his life. If the men of my tent did not say, who is there that has not been satisfied with his meat? The stranger did not have to spend the night in the street, for I have opened my doors to the way. If I have covered my transgressions like Adam, by hiding my crookedness in my bosom, then let me fear the great crowd, and dread the scorn of the clans. Then I would be silent and go out of the door. Who would give me a hearing? See my signature. Let the Almighty answer me, and let my accuser write a bill. Would I not take it up on my shoulder, bind it on me for a crown? I would declare to him the number of my steps. I would approach him like a prince. If my land cries out against me, or its furrows weep together, if I have eaten its fruit without payment, or caused its owners to die, let thistles grow instead of wheat, and useless weed instead of barley. The words of Iyov are ended. Iyov 32. Then these 3 men ceased to answer Iyov, because he was righteous in his own eyes. And the wrath of Elihu, son of Barachel, the Buzite, of the clan of Ram, burned against Iyov. His wrath burned because he declared himself right rather than Elohim. And against his 3 friends his wrath burned, because they had found no answer and pronounced Elohim wrong, and because they were years older than he. Elihu had waited to speak to Iyov. And when Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouth of these 3 men, his wrath burned. And Elihu, son of Barachel, the Buzite, responded and said, I am young in years, and you are aged. Therefore I was afraid to let you know my opinion. I said, days should speak, and many years should teach wisdom. But truly, if the Spirit in man, and the breath of the Almighty that gives him understanding, the multitude are not wise, nor do the age understand right ruling. Therefore I have said, listen to me. Let me also make my opinion known to you. Look, I waited for your words. I listened to your reasonings while you searched out what to say. I paid close attention to you, but look, not one of you proved Iyov wrong, nor answered his words, lest you say, we have found wisdom. It is El that drives him away, not man. Now he has not ordered words against me, so I would not answer him with your words. They have broken down, they have not answered again. Words have departed from them, and I have waited, but they do not speak, because they have stood still, they answered no more. Let me answer on my part. Let me also make my opinion known, for I am filled with words. The Spirit within me presses me. See, within me it is like wine not opened. It shall burst like no wineskins. Let me speak, so that I find relief. Let me Open my lips and answer. Please let me not show partiality to anyone, nor let me flatter any man. For I do not know how to flatter, lest my Maker should soon take me away. Iyov 33. And yet, O Iyov, please hear my speech and listen to all my words. See, please, I shall open my mouth. My tongue shall speak in my mouth. My words are from the uprightness of my heart. My lips shall speak knowledge clearly. The Spirit of El has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. If you are able, answer me. Set yourself in order before me. Take your stand. See, I am like you before El. I too have been formed out of clay. See, no fear of me should alarm you, nor should pressure by me be heavy on you. But you have spoken in my hearing, and the sound of words I hear, saying, I am clear without transgression, I am innocent and have no crookedness. See, he finds occasion against me. He counts me as his enemy. He puts my feet in the stocks. He watches all my paths. See, in this you have not been righteous. Let me answer you. Eloah is greater than man. Why have you complained against him? Because he does not answer all his matters. For El does speak once or twice, though one does not notice it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men, while slumbering on a bed, then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction, to turn man from his deeds, and conceal pride from man. He keeps back his being from the pit, and his life from passing away from the sword. And he is reproved with pains on his bed, and with the unceasing distress in his bones, so that his life loathes bread, and his being desirable food. His flesh wastes away, and his bones, which were not seen, stuck out. And his being draws near to the pit, and his life to the destroyers. If there is a messenger for him, a mediator, one among 1,000, to show men his straightness, then he shows favor to him, and says, release him from going down to the pit. I have found an atonement. Let his flesh become fresher than a child's. Let him return to the days of his youth. He prays to Eloah, and he accepts him, and he sees his face with joy, and he restores to man his righteousness. He sings to men and says, I have sinned, and I have perverted what was right, and did not profit me. He has redeemed my being from going down to the pit, and my life sees the light. See, El does all these, twice, 3 times, with a man, to bring back his being from the pit, to be enlightened with the light of the living. Pay attention, Iyov. Listen to me. Keep silent and let me speak. If there are words, answer me. Speak, for I desire to declare you right. If not, listen to me. keep silent, and let me teach you wisdom. Iyov 34. Then Elihu responded and said, Hear my words, you wise men, give ear to me. You who have knowledge, for the ear tries words as the palate tastes food. Let us choose what is right for us. Let us know among us what is good. For Iyov has said, I am righteous, but El has taken me away my right. Let us choose what is right for us. Let us know among us what is good. For Iyov has said, I am righteous, but El has taken away my right. Would I lie concerning my right? My wound is incurable without transgression. What man is like Iyov, who drinks mocking like water, who goes in company with the mockers of wickedness, and walks with men of wrongness? For he has said, It does not profit a man that he takes delight in Elohim. Therefore, listen to me, you men of heart. Far be it from El to do wrong, and from the Almighty to commit unrighteousness, for he repays man's work to him, and makes a man to find a reward according to his path. The truth is, El does not do wrong, and the Almighty does not twist right rulings. Who has assigned to him the earth, and who has laid out all the world? If he sets out his heart on him, should he gather to himself the spirit and his breath? All flesh would expire together, and man return to the dust. If you have understanding, hear this. Give ear to the sound of my words. Should one who hates right ruling govern? Or would you declare a most righteous one wrong? Who shall say to a sovereign, Belial, to nobles? Wrong one. Who is not partial to princes, nor regards the rich more than the poor, for they are all the work of his hands. In a moment they die. Job 34:20. In a moment they die. In the middle of the night the people are shaken and pass away, and the mighty are taken away without a hand. His eyes are on the ways of man, and he sees all his steps. There is no darkness nor shadow of death where the workers of wickedness hide themselves. For he sets a man no stated time to appear before El in right ruling. He breaks in pieces the mighty without inquiry, and puts others in their place. Truly, he knows their works, and he shall overthrow in the night, and they are crushed. As wrong ones, he slaps them in the presence of onlookers, because they turn from following him, and they regarded not all of his ways, so as to cause a cry of the poor to come to him, for he hears the cry of the afflicted. And when he is silent, who would then condemn? And when he hides his face, who then sees him, whether it is against a nation or a man alone, so that a defiled one should not reign, lest the people be ensnared? For has anyone said to El, I have taken away? I do not act corruptly. Teach me what I do not see. If I have done unrighteous, I shall not do so again. Should he repay you because you have refused? For you choose, and not I. Therefore speak what you know. Let men of heart say to me, and a wise man who listens to me. Iyov does not speak with knowledge, and his words are without wisdom. Would that Iyov be tried to the end, since his answers are like those of wicked men. For he adds rebellion to his sin. He claps his hands among us and multiplies his words against El. Iyov 35. And Elihu responded and said, Do you think this is right? Do you say my righteousness is more than that of El? For you say, Of what use is it to you? What do I gain more than if I had sinned? Let me answer you and your friends with you. Look to the heavens and see, and consider the clouds which are higher than you. If you sin, what would you do against him? If your transgressions are increased, what would you do to him? If you are righteous, what do you give him? Or what does he receive from your hand? Or your wrong is for a man like yourself, and your righteousness for a son of man. Because of the multitude of oppressions they cry out. They cry out for help because of the arm of many. And no one says, Where is Eloah, my maker? Who gives songs in the night, teaching us more than the beasts of the earth, and makes us wiser than the birds of the heavens. There they cry, but he answers not, because of pride of evil ones. Only it is false that El does not hear, and the Almighty pays no attention to it. Although you say you do not see him, yet right ruling is before him, and you wait for him, and now it is for nothingness. It is for naught that it is his displeasure has come, yet he has not taken note of extreme arrogance. So Iyov opens his mouth in vain. He increases words without knowledge. Iyov 36. Then Elihu continued and said to those and to Iyov, Bear with me a little, and let me show you there is still more to say for Eloah. I bring my knowledge from afar and ascribe righteousness to my Maker. For truly my words are not false. The one perfect in knowledge is with you. See, El is mighty, but rejects no one, mighty in power and heart. He does not keep the wrongdoer alive, but he gives right ruling to the oppressed ones. He does not withdraw his eyes from the righteous, and the sovereigns on the throne, and the seats of them forever, and they are exalted. And if they are bound in shackles, caught in cords of affliction, then he reveals to them their work and their transgression, that they have behaved proudly. And he opens their ears for discipline and commands that they turn back from wickedness. If they obey and serve, they complete their days in blameless blessedness, and their years in plentiness. But if they do not obey, they perish by the sword and die without knowledge. But the defiled ones in heart become enraged. Let them not cry for help when he binds them. Their being dies in youth, and their life among the male prostitutes. He rescues the afflicted one in his affliction, and opens their ears in oppression. And he also would have brought you out of distress, into a broad place where there is no restraint. And what is set on your table would be filled with rich food. But you are filled with the judgment of the wrong. Judgment and right ruling take hold of you. Beware. The rage does not entice you to scoffing. And do not let a large bribe turn you aside. Would he value your riches? No, not precious ore, nor all your strength. Do not long for the night when people go up in their place. Beware, do not turn to wickedness, for you have chosen this rather than affliction. See, El is exalted by his power. Who is a teacher like him? Who has appointed him his ways? Or who has said, you have worked unrighteousness? Remember to extol his works, of which men have sung. All men have seen it. Man looks on it from afar. See, El is great beyond our understanding, and we do not know the number of his years. For he draws up drops of water, which distill as rain from the midst, which the clouds drop down, pour down in showers on man. Also, who understands the spreading of the clouds, the crashing from his booth? See, he has spread his light upon it, and he has covered the depths of the sea. For by these he judges the people. He gives plenty of food. He has covered his hands with lightning, and commands it to strike. Its noise declares concerning him also the cattle, as to what is coming up. Iyov 37. At this too my heart trembles and leaps from its place. Listen to the trembling of his voice, and the sound that comes from his mouth. He lets it loose under all the heavens, and his lightning to the ends of the earth. After it, a voice roars. He thunders with the voice of his excellency, and he does not hold them back when his voice is heard. El thunders wondrously, his voice doing great deeds which we do not understand. For he says to the snow, be on the earth, also to the gentle rain and the heavy rain of his strength. He seals up the hand of every man, for all men to know his work. Then the beast goes into its lair, and they stay in their dens. From the room of the south comes the whirlwind, and cold from the scattering wind of the north. By the breadth of El, ice is given, and the expanse of water becomes solid. He also loads the thick clouds with moisture, and he scatters his bright clouds. And they swirl about, being turned by his guidance to do whatever he commands them to do. On the face of the earthly world, he causes it to come, whether as a rod, or for his land, or for kindness. Listen to this, O Iyov. Stand still and consider the wonders of El. Do you know when Eloah placed them and caused the lightning of his cloud to shine? Do you know the balancing of the clouds, the wonders of the one perfect in knowledge? Why are your garments hot? when the earth is stilled from the south? Did you with him spread out the clouds, strong as a hard mirror? Teach us what we should say to him. We do not set in order because of darkness. Should he be that told that I would speak? Would any man ask to be swallowed up? And now they shall not look on the light that is bright behind the clouds, when the wind has passed and cleared them. From the golden north it comes, with Eloah is awesome excellency. The Almighty, we have not found him out. He is exalted in power and right ruling and great in righteousness. He does not oppress. Therefore, men, fear him. He does not regard anyone who are wise of heart. Iyov 38. Then YHWH answered Iyov out of the whirlwind and said, Who is this who darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Now gird up your loins like a man, and I ask you, and you answer me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare, if you have understanding. Who set its measurements, if you know? Or who stretched the line upon it? Upon what were its foundations sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of Elohim shouted for joy, or who enclosed the sea with doors, when it burst forth and came from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment, and thick darkness its swaddling band, and I assigned it for my law, and set bars and doors, and said, This far you have come, but no farther, and here your proud waves stop. Have you ever commanded the morning, and caused the dawn to know its place? To take hold of the ends of the earth, and the wrong shall be shaken out of it. It is changed like clay under a seal, and they stand out like a garment. And their light is withheld from the wrong, and the arm lifted up is broken. Have you come to the source of the sea, or have you walked about in the recesses of the deep? Were the gates of death revealed to you, or have you seen the gates of the shadow of death? Have you understood the breadth of the earth? Declare if you know it all. Where is the way to the dwelling of light? And darkness, where is its place? That you should take it to its boundary, and now know the paths to its home. Do you know, for you would have been born, and the number of your days been many. Have you entered into the storehouses of snow, or have you seen the storehouses of hail, which I have kept for the time of distress, for the day of fighting and battle? Where is the way that light is divided, or the east wind scatters over the earth? Who has cleft a channel for the overflowing water, or a way for the thunderclaps, to make rain fall on the land where no one is, a wilderness in which there is no man, to satisfy the wild and waste places, and to make a seed of grass to sprout? Does the rain have a father, or who has brought forth the dews of water drops? For whose belly comes the ice, and who gave birth to the frost of the heavens? The waters harden like stone, and the surface of the deep is frozen. Do you bind the bands of Kemah, or loosen the cords of Kisil? Do you bring out the constellations in its seasons, or do you lead the bear with its sons? Do you know the laws of heaven, or do you set their rule over the earth? Do you lift up the voice to the clouds, so that the floods of water cover you? Do you send out lightnings, and they go and say to you, Here we are? Who has put wisdom in the inward parts? Or who has given understanding to the heart? Who has the wisdom to count the clouds, or to tip over the bottle of the heavens? When the dust hardens in clumps and the clods cling together, do you hunt the prey for the lion, or satisfy the appetite of young lions? When they crouch in their dens, sit in the cover of their hiding place. Who provides food for the raven when its young one cries to El and wander about for food? Iyov 39. Do you know the time when the wild mountain goats bear young? Or do you observe when the deer gives birth? Do you number the months they complete? Or do you know the time when they bear their young? They bow down, they bring forth their young, their labor pains are ended. Their young ones are thriving, they grow up in the field. They shall leave and shall not return to them. Who sets the wild donkey free? Who looses the bonds of the wild donkey? Whose home I have made in the desert, and the salt land his dwelling. He laughs at the commotion of the city. He does not hear the shouts of the driver. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searches for all that is green. Would the wild ox be pleased to serve you, or spend the night by your feeding trough? If you bind the wild ox in the furrow with ropes, would he plow the valley behind you? Would you rely on his great strength, or would you leave your labors to him? Would you trust him to bring home your grain and gather it up on your threshing floor? The wings of the ostrich flap joyously, but they are not the pinions and plumage of kindness. She leaves her eggs on the ground and warms them in the dust, and she forgets that a foot might crush them, or a wild beast tread on them. She treats her young harshly, as if not hers. Her toil is in vain without fear, because Elohah has made her forget wisdom and did not endow her with understanding. When she lifts herself on high, she laughs at the horse and its rider. Have you given the horse strength? Have you covered his neck with mane? Would you make him leap like a locust, or splendid snorting is frightening? He paws in the valley and rejoices in strength. He gallops into the clash of arms. He laughs at fear and is not frightened, nor does he turn back from the sword. The quiver rattles against him, the glittering spear and lance. He eats up the ground with fierceness and rage, and he does not stand still when the ram's horn sounds. At the blast of the ram's horn he says, Aha! And from afar he smells the battle, the thunder of the commanders and shouting. Does the hawk fly by your wisdom, spreading its wings towards the south? Does the eagle mount up at your command, and make its nest on high? It dwells on the rocks, and lodges on the crags of the rocks and the strongholds. From there it searches out its prey. Its eyes see it from afar, and its young ones suck up blood. And where the slain are, there it is. Iyov 40. And Yahweh answered Iyov, and said, Should a reprover contend with the Almighty, let him who reproves Eloah answer it. And Iyov answered Yahweh, and said, See, I am insignificant. What would I answer you? I lay my hand over my mouth. Once I have spoken, but I have no answer, and twice, but I say no more. Then Yahweh answered Iyov out of the whirlwind and said, Now gird up your loins like a man. I ask you, and you answer me. Would you also set aside my judgment? Would you pronounce me wrong, and you be declared righteous? Or do you have an arm like El? Or do you thunder with a voice like his? Deck yourself, please, with excellency and grandeur, and put on esteem and splendor. Scatter abroad the rage of your wrath. And look on everyone who is proud and bring him low. Look on everyone who is proud, humble him, and tread down the wrongdoers in their place. Hide them in the dust together, bind their faces in obscurity. Then even I would confess to you that your own right hand does save you. See now, Behemoth, which I made along with you, he eats grass like an ox. See now, his strength is in his loins, and his power is in his stomach muscles. He bends his tail like a cedar. The sinews of his thighs are knit together. His bones are like the tubes of bronze, his ribs like bars of iron. He is the beginning of the ways of El. His maker brings near his sword. For the mountains yield food for him, and all the beasts of the field play there. He lies under the slender trees, under cover of reed and swamp. The slender trees cover him with their shade, and their willows by the streams surround him. See, if a river rages, he is not alarmed. He is safe. Even if the Jordan gushes into his mouth, before his eyes he shall be caught with snares, or his nose pierced. Iyov 41. Would you draw out the Leviathan with a hook, or ensnare his tongue with a line which you lower? Would you put a cord through his nose, or pierce his jaw with a hook? Would he keep on pleading with you? Would he speak softly to you? Would he make a covenant with you to be taken as a servant forever? Would you play with him as with a bird, or leash him for your young girls? Would trading partners bargain over him? Would they divide him among the merchants, fill his skin with harpoons, or his head with fishing spears? Put your hand on him, think of the struggle. Do not do it again. See, any expectation of him is disappointed. He is laid low even at the sight of him. No one is too foolhardy to wake him up. Who then is able to stand against me? Who has given to me first what I should repay him under all the heavens that is mine? I would not keep silent concerning his limbs, or his mighty power, or his fair frame. Who shall take off the surface of his skin? Who approaches him with a double bridle? Who shall open the doors of his face, with his frightening teeth all around? Rows of scales are his pride, closed up a binding seal. One to the other they fit closely, not even a breath enters between them. They are joined one to another, they stick together and are not separated. His sneezing flashes forth light, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go firebrands, sparks of fire shoot out. Out of his nostril comes smoke, like a boiling pot or kettle. His breath sets coals on fire, and the flame goes out of his mouth. Strength dwells in his neck, and fear leaps before him. The folds of his flesh cleave together, and they are firm on him, immovable. His heart is as hard as stone, even as hard as a lower millstone. When he raises himself up, the mighty are afraid. Because of his crashing, they are bewildered. No sword that reaches him does prevail, neither spear, dart, nor lance. He reckons iron as straw, bronze as rotten wood. The arrow does not make him flee. Sling stones become like stubble to him. Clubs are reckoned as straw. He laughs at the rattle of a lance. His undersides are like sharp potsherds. He sprawls out on the mud like a threshing sledge. He makes the deep boil like a pot. He makes the sea like a pot of ointment. He leaves a shining path behind him. One would think the deep to be gray-haired. No one on earth is like him, no one made without fear. He sees all that is haughty. He is sovereign over all the sons of pride. Job 42. And Job answered Yahweh and said, You know that you are able to do all, and that no purpose is withheld from you. Who is this that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I declare, but I did not understand matters too marvelous for me, which I did not know. Listen, please, and let me speak. I ask you, when you would make it known to me. I have heard of you by the hearing of my ears, but now my eyes see you. Therefore I despise myself, and I repent in dust and ashes. And it came to be after Yahweh had spoken these words to Job, that Yahweh said to Eliphaz the Temanite, My wrath has burned against you and your two friends, for you have not spoken of me what is right, as did my servant Job. And now take 7 bulls and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job, and offer up a burnt offering for yourselves, and let my servant Job pray for you. For I accept him, lest I punish you, because you have not spoken of me what is right, as did my servant Job. So Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamite went and did as Yahweh commanded them, and Yahweh accepted the face of Job. And Yahweh turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends, and Yahweh gave Job twice as much as he had before. And all his brothers and all his sisters and all those who had been his friends before came to him and ate food with him in his house, and they sympathized with him and comforted him for all the evil that Yahweh had brought upon him. And they each gave him a piece of silver, and each one a ring of gold. And Yahweh blessed the latter days of Iyov more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep, and 6,000 camels, and 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. And he had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he called the name of the first Yimiyah, and the name of the second Kestra, and the name of the third Karen Hapu. And in all the land were found no women so pretty as the daughters of Iyov, and their father gave them an inheritance among their brothers. And after this Iyov lived 140 years, and saw his children and grandchildren for 4 generations. And Iyov died, old and satisfied with days.